Hey, it's JJ Virgin, and welcome to the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show, where I give you the latest cutting-edge intel to help you look, feel, and think better. Now, today's show is all about the healing power of essential oils, and this has been a very interesting epiphany for me because I will admit that for years, I always had a little lavender oil. Who knows what it was? I mean, it wasn't a high quality oil, but I was like, oh yeah, put some in the bath, you know? And that was like the extent of my knowledge of essential oils. Then when my son Grant was born, he had this, I'm trying to remember what the name of it was, but basically it was like this, I think it was called cradle cap. And I was reading about what to do about it. And one of the things to do about it was to put the essential oil, oregano oil, on his head and rub it in. I'm thinking, well, I can do that. That's at least one of the things I can do, which I put diluted oregano oil on his head. It got rid of it. And he did smell like a pizza, but it got rid of it. But I still didn't really realize the power of essential oils until Grant was in the hospital, literally teetering between life and death with a traumatic brain injury and a lot of other injuries. And my buddy, Dr. Ann Meyer, came over to the hospital. She's a brain trauma doc over at Cedars-Sinai, and she brought essential oils with her. And it was really the first intervention that we started to do and that I started to see a difference with. And so ever since then, things shifted for me. I have a buddy, Dr. Eric C. He's part of my Mindshare community, and he is an essential oils expert and coming out with a new book. And so he was sharing with me some stories of what he's found over the years, because he's a crazy researcher. He is a huge fact finder. And I said, oh my gosh, you just have to come on my podcast and share this. So I have a super treat for you today, because you are going to get some takeaways that you can put into immediate use. You know, I love the little hinges that swing the big doors. These are some of those. And so I am thrilled to have Dr. Eric Zielinski with me. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He was trained as a public health researcher, and he has launched his online health ministry in 2014, which has been visited by more than 2.5 million people. It's the number one ranked fastest growing website devoted to biblical health on the internet, and he specializes in the therapeutic use of essential oils. He's an accomplished researcher with several publications, conference proceedings, and sits as a peer reviewer on multiple journals. So see, he is a super researcher, super fact finder. I always look for these people because I am just the opposite. He has a gorgeous wife and 4 kids, lives out in Atlanta, and I'm thrilled to have him with us today. He's about to come out with a fantastic book, The Healing Power of Essential Oils. You can pre-order it now. And again, we are going to be talking all about the healing power of essential oils. So today's guest is Dr. Eric Zielinski. All right, let's do it. Dr. Z, welcome to the show. I am so glad you're here with me today.
Well, I am gladder, if that's a word or not.
It is now.
It is. We just made it a word. Love it, JJ. Thanks so much for having me. It's really an honor and a privilege.
Well, you know, we have this topic, the healing power of essential oils, and I will be honest with you. Okay, so full disclosure, I literally thought this was like a cute little thing, like you put a little lavender on your pillow or in your bath. I had this like lavender misting spray I would spray on my pillow, and that was what I thought of essential oils. So we're here today.
I was there.
Yes, to show people that these are super powerful. And what I'd love to know is like, how did you get into this whole thing?
Well, I was the same person. I literally marginalized this as smelly stuff. Married the love of my life who uses this stuff every day. She has a ritual, like literally every day out of her shower, she does the same thing. And I just literally thought it was just something my wife did. And, you know, truth be told, several years ago, I developed a pimple. I went to Dr. Google, natural remedies for pimples. And what did Google say? First or second post it was on top said, go put a drop of oregano on your skin neat, AKA undiluted straight. And I did. I listened. I'm very compliant as a patient. So I went to the health food store, got a knockoff brand of essential oil, put it on my skin, and it burned like hell. And it actually caused irritation so much where I caused more outbreak around my skin. I'm like, this stuff's nuts. Okay, so it smells weird. I'm not going to go to the,
I
I'm not
smell
gonna
like
play
a pizza.
Yeah, but I can't go to the ball game or play basketball with my buddy smelling like Ylang-ylang. They'll take my guy card away, right? So, okay, so that's smelly stuff. I can't do that. It doesn't work and it hurts. And fast forward several years, because I was a medical writer before I did what I did. I'm a public health researcher, and one of my clients commissioned me to write a series of public health reports on oils. And that's when I had my proverbial coming to Jesus moment. I'm like, whoa, what is this stuff? He had me write on cancer. He had me write on autoimmune conditions. He had me write on blood pressure balancing and just a number of different things. And I'm like, something's different. Something's not given right here. I did something wrong. What is my wife doing? And I had to sit back. And that's where I am today. I dove into, and I've been training with an aromatherapist. I am an aromatherapist at this point. Continuing doing what I'm doing, interviewing people, wrote this book, and my message is just to take away the woo-woo and share, especially with the guys out there, because there are significant healing properties, and quite frankly, a lot of medicines, the chemical properties are based off of the properties of these oils. So always going back to nature. That's really my MO.
Okay, so you did a shout out to the guys, but I'm going to shout out to the women.
Yes.
Because I know that in this book that you have coming out, The Healing Power of Essential Oils, which is super cool, like a major publisher. I mean, it just shows this is getting out there. People are starting to realize that this is really actually powerful medicine. Because I did the same when Grant was a little baby and he had these weird things on his head. Both Grant and Bryce did, and I read, and it was like use oregano oil. So literally smelled like a pizza, but it worked. It worked really well.
Yeah.
And I didn't really worry about, at the time, I honestly didn't really think much of it. I was like, oh, it's just this little woo-woo thing. But I know that that is not the case, which we'll be talking about today. And I'd love to start in with, like, as far as women's health.
Oh, unbelievable.
Okay, so I mean, I'm just going to open that up. I'm not even asking questions. I'm just going to say, Eric, women's health.
God help me. I only want, like, forgive me for saying this, I only wanted to write one chapter in my book, and that was my proposal. When I went to Penguin Random House with this book, they loved it, and they're like, okay, we love the proposal, let's tweak it together. And I had one chapter on women's health. And the problem with being a researcher is you get lost sometimes. And I almost missed my deadline because I literally got lost in the research for 2.5 months, writing what's now become an entire section of the book, like 5 chapters on women's health, like an entire chapter on candida, an entire chapter on menopause, an entire chapter on labor and delivery. And so once the world of public health research opened up to me, I realized this is really significant. And unfortunately, we just don't have a men's health initiative like we do. And thank God we do, actually. I talk about that in the book. I mean, women's health has been marginalized for millennia. And now that it's become on the forefront of researchers' mind, gratefully speaking, but guys' health, I don't know what to say, besides just some good old common sense. I don't have a lot of research to back it up, but boy, we're talking thousands and thousands of studies. So I really help basically from the time a young woman is premenstrual to postmenopausal. I cover everything, even libido, vaginal dryness, which, by the way, is one of the most common complaints I get from older women. Like, what can I do? This kind of stuff. We really touch base on all that. Okay. Well, what can she do, since you brought that one up? Yeah, it's a good one. I mean, making a very highly diluted, safe blend of essential oils as a lubricant, and not only as a lubricant during intercourse, but for women who just deal with chafing and dryness while they sit and while they walk, because as you might not know, depending being, post labor and delivery, that it gets drier and drier, and your body basically it's related to estrogen. And the lower your estrogen, the less likelihood your body is to produce that natural lubricant, especially during sex, and you need to lube up. So I always recommend, and this is where I talk about in the book, because again, folks, this is plant-based medicine, and you're not going to walk in your backyard in your lavender garden and find a pool of lavender. It doesn't exist. It has to be distilled. Women have to produce it. Highly concentrated, and you will hurt yourself if you don't use them the right way, like I did. So what I do is I come up with a highly diluted, recipe. We call it a 1% dilution. And I give you a little bit of aromatherapy 101. So if you're taking notes, take this down. This is a really good rule of thumb. There are 600 drops of oil in an ounce. Okay, so let's say you're using an ounce of carrier oil. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's coconut, that's jojoba, almond, evening primrose, olive oil, whatever. Whatever it is, it's basically a carrier that dilutes the highly concentrated oil. So if you want a 1% dilution, what's 1% of 600? 6 drops. So if you want a 1%, which is very safe for children, even as young as infant, and it's very safe for the sensitive areas of your body, the underarms, your genitalia, the neck, that sort of, again, sensitive skin. Then a 1% dilution can be ylang-ylang. It could be a mixture of ylang-ylang, jasmine, rose. The oils that you think about for libido, like they really work and they help. But what they do is they really help promote balanced hormones. Lavender is a big one. Clary, sage, geranium. And this is a key, JJ. There is no recipe. There is no white pill. And I want to get people out of the mindset. Like I go to the doctor, I'm sick, give me a white pill that he or she gives to the same exact patient after you. The idea behind natural medicine, in my opinion, and the idea behind functional medicine as a whole is biochemical individuality. And that's how I use essential oils, is what works for me. So in my book, I always give a wide variety of oils. Like, hey, these 15 oils are really, really good for women, according to the research. Now go and play. Figure out what works for you.
So what about though? Okay, so let's say I was just going to start with a couple, and I will tell you I have a bunch of oils because it seems like everywhere I go, like our conferences, they're like, here you go, and I'm like, okay, cool. Yes. And then I'm like, oh shoot,
what do I do with this?
Yeah, okay, like I'm looking, I've got one sitting over here. What is it? It is. It's it's called Balance Grounding Blend.
Yes.
But let's say that someone just was going, okay, what would be like where should I start, Eric? What would be my top 3? What do I do?
Yeah, that's a good thing to ask. And the answer is really, what's your budget? I mentioned rose and jasmine. I mean, most people don't have $200-300 to drop on a real bottle of rose and jasmine. I mean, if you're finding rose at the store for $20, I 100% guarantee it's fake.
And can we talk about that? Because I know back when Grant was in the hospital and I was using essential oils through my amazing friend, Dr. Ann Meyer, and she brought me all this great stuff. And then someone brought me like this jug of lavender oil.
Yeah, seriously,
just looking at that going, what is that? Why is that in here?
Not lavender.
Because I would assume just like supplements, quality is key.
Yes.
So I still am going to look for those top 3 for someone to start with. And then how the heck do you know that you've got something good?
So if I were a woman, I'm not, but my wife and my children, but just women's health in general, the top 3 by far, clary, sage, geranium, and lavender. Their uses are nearly ubiquitous, and I kid you not. And JJ, you got to go back. I mean, let's go back. Whether someone believes in evolution or ancestral, or whether someone believes in the biblical mindset, just think back to our ancestors. And I think this is really important. Before we had mass trade, before we could travel the world, you used what you could use. And when you look at the Ayurvedic model and you use what's local, and the Ayurvedic model really blew my mind because in their medicine practice, ancient Indian practice, not Native American, but India, right? They use lemon for virtually everything, like lemon for digestion, for cancer, for diabetes, for excitement, for libido. Like they figured out there's a variety of ways of using the plants that are in your backyard. And I find the same exact thing. So when someone says there's an oil for that, yes, but the reality is a lot of these oils do a lot of the same stuff. Very few are actually are counterproductive to each other. Like, lavender, for example, is typically calming. However, for children and adults with ADHD, it has a tendency to excite them, which is counterintuitive. But at the end of the day, the beauty, and I talk about this a lot in my book, is harmonization. The beauty of it is these oils have the tendency to give the body what it needs to produce homeostasis. So you have something like Ylang-ylang, which is, I would say 4. That would be close. That would be like almost top 3 because, again, it's a little pricier. So I'm thinking that always in the back of my mind. I don't want to say, hey, yeah, get rose. And now I'm putting you in $500 worth of debt. That's the part of my model as well. This has to be cost effective. So lavender, clary, sage, geranium, and close is Ylang-ylang. Ylang-ylang has been proven to literally balance blood pressure at the same time where it raises heart rate, which is exact opposite physiologically of what something should do in the same people. And the article was describing lavender or ylang-ylangl's ability to produce harmony with conflicting biochemical markers, which doesn't make sense to medicine. But what we see in plant-based medicine, that happens all the time.
Wow. Now, I know when we were talking offline, you said, ask me about the crazy story.
Oh,
and I feel like you
okay.
just kind of alluded or building up here. So let's
Love it.
bring it up.
I didn't even know what this was. I didn't learn this in school. And again, my background is public health research, and I'm a non-practicing chiropractor because this is what I do for a living. And so when I was in chiropractic college, they never taught us about autoimmune progesterone dermatitis. And so when I met this woman for the first time, it was actually at the very first essential oil class I was teaching locally. She came up to me. She was just sweet. I mean, just sweet, precious, but absolutely weak and frail and barely alive. You know what that's like when you're just so sick, so desperate. She came up to me and near trembling. It really was a very interesting spiritual moment to be with her. And we had a connection because she mustered up the courage to come to me. She was that last person, and she waited for everyone else to ask the question until she kind of like sneaked around the corner and said, "Hey, Dr. Z, can I talk to you?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and she showed me what was wrong with her, and her hands were all bandaged, and I thought that was kind of odd. Like I really didn't know what to think. Like I thought maybe was she cutting herself? I mean, really, I don't know. I mean, that's something that happens a lot. And was it a self-mutilation thing? Was it? I don't know. And she told me about how every month during her cycle, her hands would break out in oozing sores, absolute oozing sores, where she couldn't even hold a pen or a pencil. She had 2 young babies, and she started going through the litany of health conditions that she battled with. And you and I know a lot of this stuff, JJ, because we've been, especially you've been doing this for quite a while. The symptoms of candida, the brain fog, the allergies, the food intolerances, all the things that she was layering out, insomnia, low libido, depression, anxiety, everything, one after another, after another, after another. And it just manifested to these oozing stores in her hand. So she went to these functional medical practitioners that, bless their heart, had no idea what they were doing. And they put her on a supplement regimen of $700 a month. And she got broke. Like she got to the point she literally was broke. And she goes,
say, now she's broke with
nothing.
With scabby hands.
Literally. And every month. So after the cycle ends, her hands kind of recover. And then she can kind of live for 2 weeks, and then her cycle comes back again, and then her hands break out in oozing sores. So the medical doctors literally had no idea. And I don't know how, but they couldn't figure out that it was autoimmune progesterone dermatitis. It's basically an autoimmune condition where her hormone balance is so out of whack in my own vernacular that she had a dermatitis type of reaction where hers was extreme. And so, gut health, leaky gut, we all this stuff. But at the end of the day, she was broke. She had nothing. Her marriage was near at a point of extinction. And I get this a lot. Like I was like her last resort. And she like, Dr. Z, I don't know what else to do. I have no money. And if I had enough money to buy one oil, what do you think I should do? Like that's where she was in life. And I'm like, Lord God, what do you do to that? So I sat back and I didn't tell her anything. I'm like, we got to chat more. Like I need to get at a health history. I needed to work with her a little bit more. And I found out what I got. I just put her on a fast. I had her stop everything. And I had her like, you just have to calm your body. And what we need to do is we just need to create like a healing ointment with it included aloe and coconut oil. And people can find the recipe. It's called Mama Z's healing serum on my website. My wife came up with a really cool salve that helped her father overcome skin cancer, but it includes frankincense and lavender. And what we did was this woman, really, again, it's not oils. This isn't an oil story. This is I changed my life story, and oils was part of it, which is really key to this. But the thing that I could do for her is like, look, I don't think like oils are going to heal your hands, but I'm going to help you get a good night's sleep, because how can you take care of your baby and your children and do what you got to do without sleep? And so that's what I did. I gave her some recommendations on how to use lavender and how to diffuse it and that sort of thing. And then she started sleeping better. And then she started using peppermint for energy instead of going to coffee during that 1 o'clock drop where she used to go for that pot of coffee. So I started showing her how to use peppermint and other oils for basically symptom management. So she wouldn't go to the drugs. And so she wouldn't go. And then when pain came, I gave her like, here's some tips on how to use oils for pain. But through the oils and through the basically elimination diet, she was able to heal the leaky gut, deal with the basically just the nuisance and the struggle of all these symptoms. And I kid you not, JJ, within 3 weeks, it was gone. And here's the twist of the story. And I wish it had like a beautiful, shiny ending, but she was well and it didn't come back for like 2 months. And she's like, wow, I'm healed. Hallelujah. Right. Well, she kind of got a little cocky. And she thought she could eat a sandwich. I kid you not. She was totally gluten-free. She was on a extreme diet, just basic low-inflammatory diet. And she had a sandwich. I don't know what it was, just whatever knockoff food and bread. And it went back like with a vengeance. And then I didn't hear from her for like 2 months. And I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, I haven't heard from you. What's going on? And she was so embarrassed. She was, Dr. Z, I made a mistake. I thought I could handle food, like my old food again. And then that lesson, she wasn't ready for that. And quite frankly, she probably never will be ready to eat bread ever again because her body was completely restored. And so, but now we got her back on track and she's managing it again. But it's beautiful to see just this holistic lifestyle and how someone's life can drastically change. And she credits oils and me and her diet to saving her marriage, to saving her health, to saving her life, her finances. Like, again, I got her off of $700 worth of supplements a month, and that's life-changing for people.
That is crazy. You're right. That's a crazy story. But the cool thing here is you did a couple of things that I'm always looking at is, we really need to become our own personal health detective. I actually think it's fantastic. She went and cheated and then found that out because there's nothing more powerful than connecting the dots. Yes. Right. And going, okay, like not going to do that again. I am totally freaked out when I hear about these programs that include cheat days because I'm like, but people cheat on the things that hurt them. And it's not like they just put it in and it leaves. Now they've created an inflammatory response in their diet. They have to go out and get handled. So that's even more powerful is that she was able to connect the dots and that she was able to get a simple solution to it. So I want to throw you a little bit of a curveball. So, Dr. Z, what's the one thing you do every day that you feel makes the biggest difference in your life?
Man, that's a good question. And you caught me at an interesting point in my life. It boils around love. And it boils around first self-love, but truly, unconditionally loving my wife, my children, those around me, and absolutely everyone that I could love. That interacts with me. And that has changed my life, saved my marriage, absolutely transformed my health, my business, my relationships. And that's something that I'm actively working on and being intentional about. So it's really all about love.
When it gets down to it, it really is all about love, isn't it? It always is.
All you need is love.
There it is. Yep. So I know you have something super cool for everybody listening today. And for everybody listening, this will be in the show notes. It's going to be also at jjvirgin.com/Dr. Z to make it easy, DRZ. Tell us what you got for everybody.
I have a club. I don't sell essential oils, so I don't care what brand you represent, what brand you sell. I'm not a threat, and that's my secret sauce to sharing this message to the world. And I've created the largest collection of non-branded essential oil information on the internet. How to use the oils for everything from cancer to libido to weight loss, recipes, DIY, all this stuff. And I created a membership site that I want to give everyone a free access pass to. So you can go to my website, and it's right there. It says free club, and JJ just shared that too on her website. But it is just a great resource. It's a 101 guide. Where do you start? Let me walk you through it.
Perfect. That is super useful because I'm sure everybody listening right now is like, all right, okay, so what do I need to do?
Yes,
especially
exactly.
if it can, I look at all of these things. what you eat, how you sleep, the connections you have with other people being key, supplements you take, the oils you use, all these things work together to create the amazing health. And so this is just another key piece. It was a key piece of the puzzle with Grant Healing. And that's when I realized, wow, these aren't like these little cute things that you use to put in your bath. This is like a way bigger deal. And, I'm glad you went through that same journey too, because I felt a little silly telling you it at the beginning. So it's good to know it wasn't just me. All righty. So again, thank you so much for being here today. For everybody listening, that's jjvirgin.com/Dr. Z, DRZ. And Eric, it's been awesome having you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. JJ, thank you. And I want to leave everyone with a quote that I included to really kick off the women's health section of my book by Michelle Obama. And just a challenge and an inspiration to all the women out there and the men to support our wives and our mothers. Michelle says communities and countries and ultimately the world are only as strong as the health of their women. We need to be committed to keeping our women healthy. And thank you, JJ, for what you do, because you're doing just that.
Amen. Love that.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Now, after the break, I'll be answering a listener's question, so stay with me.
Fact: the true cause of weight gain is not calories, it's food intolerance. A negative reaction to certain foods, even foods you thought were healthy, can lead to a variety of symptoms including weight gain, acne, bloating, and lack of energy. The solution is simple: avoid the foods your body doesn't tolerate. But which foods? That's the secret JJ reveals in her book, The Virgin Diet: Drop 7 Foods, Lose 7 Pounds, Just 7 Days. Discover the sneaky 7 foods by visiting jjvirgin.com/books and be on your way to losing 7 pounds in just 7 days.
Welcome back. This is the time where I answer a listener's question. And today's question comes from Carrie in Sonoma. And she says, JJ, I'm heading into menopause, and I'd love to know what your top 3 things are for helping someone sail through this. So I thought this was a great time to answer this question. And again, I like to answer questions that relate to what we've been talking about. And I grab these off of our social media most of the time, especially when I'm doing Facebook Lives and what we get posted on Facebook and Instagram. So feel free to post questions there. Get involved with me over on Facebook Live. And you can also always send into our customer service. But I especially love it in social media because then everyone can benefit. And so Carrie, I thought this was great because one of the themes that came out of this, or actually 2 themes that are super important as you're going into this, are number 1, to be your own personal health detective, because you know what it feels like to feel really good. And that is really where you want to land as you're going through menopause. And then also that you need to take an integrative approach. There's not one thing that you're going to do here that's going to make you feel great. And as you're going into menopause, once you're through it, it's a whole different ballgame. But the time of when it starts till you get through it is like the wild, wild west. It's just like things get topsy-turvy. And so you've got to get really dialed into, how do I feel as I'm doing this? And there's a couple things that really are important to manage. Number 1 is managing your stress. And so you've got to find those things that work for you. You might find a good essential oil stress formula, hint, hint. So that's where Dr. Z can help. Tapping. You've heard me interview Nick Ortner on this podcast and Dr. Dawson Church. Big fan of tapping as a way to do this, because one of the things that starts to happen during menopause is cortisol goes up, and that just whacks a bunch of things, including your thyroid and your blood sugar balance. So the other thing you want to make sure of is that your thyroid is working well as you're going into menopause, because if it's sideways, everything else will be sideways too. So stress, number 1, thyroid, number 2. And then number 3 is keeping your blood sugar balanced. That is key in there. So the sugar impact diet can really help there as well. And then getting yourself to that really good baseline, you can start to work with, okay, do I want to do bioidentical hormones? Or do I want to use, I always think that you do as many other things as possible and use the least amount of bioidentical hormones if you do need them. And so that means managing stress well. We have our stress product for that if you need it, managing blood sugar well, and getting your thyroid dialed. And then the next thing that you can do is check out our Estra Care product at jjvirginstore.com, because it's got some really good herbals in there to help with both detoxifying bad estrogens and keeping your estrogen balance and your hormone balance in check. But I like to do everything natural first and then work with the functional medicine doctor if you need to go on the bioidentical hormone path. So, which, by the way, is one of the things that I've done, and game changer. All right. Again, if you'd like to submit a question, just head on over. The easiest place is probably head on over to my Facebook page at JJ Virgin Official. Now, this is the gratitude portion of the show, and it's where I highlight the review of the week. Dun, dun, dun. And not only do I look at these, we all look at these over at JJ Virgin Lifestyle headquarters, which is our headquarters are virtual, but this is like the whole team gets our A's by this. So we hugely appreciate you leaving those reviews on iTunes. I just love, love, love them. So sending you out big gratitude. And today's big gratitude goes to Nurse Robin, who says, life-changing information. 5 stars. I've followed JJ's work for years. I share information with my patients frequently. When those who listen implement her advice, they see 100% health benefits. So that is a great one. Thank you so much, Nurse Robin. It's a great way for me to leave this because it's like, I always make sure you have really clear, super cool, actionable items that you can do on all these podcasts. Now, here's the important part. Information is not power unless you actually use it. So I'm going to throw out this big challenge to you is grab something that you heard today and go out there and take action of it and go and live your best life. All right, till next time, it's JJ Virgin signing off. See ya.